Hi, I'm Melissa Keenan, CEO and owner at Coaching with Melissa Keenan. I help high-level business women create the intimacy of their dreams. So I'm coming to you today, and I really speak to women who have a desire for deeper intimacy. Women who know that there's something more in their experience of life. And maybe we just need permission. Sometimes I think I can't, I had a coach say this to me recently. I can't give you the desire, but I can give you permission for that desire. And we know that there is a depth to this experience that we're having of life, right? I think about all the changes happening in society right now. I think about how many of us are feeling called and moved into something deeper. And maybe that's why you are an entrepreneur anyway, because you want to live out your heart's desire. You know you have a mission and a purpose and a passion, and it matters. What's inside matters to this world. You want to bring it out and serve people that way. Is that right? Can I get some amens in the comments if that's describing you? And so this is the kind of woman that I love working with, because she's not complacent. She's not just going to a 9-to-5 job like a zombie, unhappy, unfulfilled, and just trying to get by, right? When you become a woman business owner, it's like you start to realize like the life that's at your fingertips, the joy that's at your fingertips, that you can create whatever you want. And so I'm here to say, sister, that applies in your relationships as well. And they're all connected, right? We are not compartmentalized beings. Now I am businesswoman Melissa. Now I am wife Melissa. We are not compartmentalized beings, right? If you're watching today, I'd love for you to say hi in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from. If you're already loving this content, come and follow us in Women Manifesting Intimacy, the Facebook group. But because I'm speaking about this content all the time. This is my passion. This is my message. This is what's inside of me. I see the world through eyes of intimacy. It's everything to me. And I think it matters more now than ever that we show up in this true, deep way. So how does intimacy then impact, as I said in my title, our impact and our income? You guys ready for that? Shall we break that down today? Hi, Lacey. Nice to meet you. Thanks for commenting. Okay, so let's talk first about what it might look like if we don't have this synergistic relationship between intimacy, impact, and income. I see a lot of business women who there's really not, in our current business space, there's not a lot of space for deep connection and intimacy. And if you've been, working in your business for some time and you've created some success, it's possible and even very likely that you've been hurt by being intimate. You showed some vulnerability of yours and someone took for granted, took advantage of what you showed, or, you shared something in confidence with someone and it turned around to stab you in the back. And so as a business owner, I know that there's some reservations around intimacy, especially when it comes to our personal relationships. And women can, our dark side can be very dark, can't it? Like people can hurt each other a lot. And so I speak about this from a place of just a tenderness. I really understand what that's like and what those reservations are about. Then you add to that the fact that maybe you had a really rough childhood. Maybe you already have trust issues. Maybe you've already been divorced because your first marriage didn't go well. And so the walls build, right? And so then we show up in our business in this very transactional way. The business is about transactions. The money is about transactions. The clients are about transactions. And it starts to feel very lonely and isolating. Then you go into your relationships. And if we are trying to see ourselves, we can't compartmentalize. We can't just be in this transactional way in our business and then not think that we're going to show up in a transactional way in our relationships. So maybe you're dating and it's like, hey, do you have an agenda? Like, I need to know clearly like what the plan is. We're very guarded. We're like, don't get too close. If you're already married and maybe there's been some hurt in the past, or you're on a second marriage or something like that, right? Again, there can be this tendency to like, do you even see me? Do you know how hard I'm working? A deep desire to be seen and understood, and yet our unconsciously our hands are up like, don't get too close. Maybe even it's like, well, I wanted that closeness and connection. I wanted him to share with me the beginning of our marriage, but he never did. And so I learned how to survive and get through this, and I grew thicker skin. And now he wants to be all tender. He wants to date me again. He wants me to sit and listen to his feelings, and I don't have time for that. I'm running a business. Okay, so this is some of the things that it can look like when intimacy is our struggle. Always this goes deep, right? It goes deep, deep for us. If you just look back a few generations for women, like what was the status quo? It was like don't be too loud, stay meek, stay humble, stay submissive, quiet. Even my aunt that raised me, it was like she never expressed emotion. Ever. She wouldn't even tell me she loved me. And now that she's in her older age, she cries about everything. And she tells me she loves me all the time. And it's even as an intimacy coach, you guys, even doing this work, I'm like, this is so strange. So even if we just go back a few generations, that's in our DNA to be guarded and have our walls up. So many different reasons and layers to why we don't show our true hearts, why we don't show up with intimacy. I define intimacy as into me see. It starts first with me. I have to be willing to feel my own feelings, to go within and to do that fierce work within. Okay? If you're watching, do you know what I'm talking about? It can be scary to go in and do that inner work. And just like I started out with at the beginning, there's no more important time than now to do that work. Like times are changing and our safety is being shook on every level. And if you're here watching and you're like, yeah, and I also have been through difficult relationships or just went through divorce or some of these different things, it's like foundations are shaky. So we've got to go in here and create the safety in here. How do we do that? If you go inward and what you see, you reject it, that's not intimacy. That's seeing in, and then that creates further disconnection. It's going in and specifically giving compassion, finding acceptance, loving what you see. That's true intimacy. Just like it would be with another, right? In a dating situation. So this is the true, deep beginning and end of all intimacy. It's something that we get to practice over and over and over again. This part of it never ends, and it's rich and beautiful. What's so cool about doing this, now I'm going to start sharing and transitioning into how this affects your impact and your income in the world. What's so cool about going inward and creating this inner relationship, you can navigate any choices because you know exactly who you are, where you stand, and what you need to do next. There's a roadmap inside of you that says, hey, these are my desires. Hey, this is what lights me up. Follow this. A roadmap to your 7-figure business, to or 8 or more, to your biggest impact, to the stage or whatever it is that you're wanting to show up with, to that deepest level of service with your clients where their lives are changed because they knew you. The roadmap is here. from doing intimacy here first, right? And then when we do that work, we can then hold that space for another. We can hold that space for our clients. We can hold that space for our partners. And how rewarding. So the ideal of this is that you're in a strong, committed relationship, in a partnership. I love marriage. Many people in this group don't love marriage. I think it's a beautiful container for a strong, committed relationship, right? The ideal is that you're in a relationship where you are doing the intimacy work and they are doing it as well, and you can hold that space, and it's a give and receive, and it's beautiful, and it's vulnerable, and it shows up emotionally, and it shows up physically, and it even shows up spiritually. That's the ideal. That's what we want, right? Like our souls are dancing with each other, and there's so much joy that comes from that then when you turn around and go out into your work in the world, of course you're going to be more lit up. Of course you're going to be more magnetic. Of course you're going to have that greater impact, which leads to greater income. Okay, is this making sense, you guys? I want to hear in the comments from you. What questions do you have? Because it seems to me that this, the way I see this is so obvious to me, right? Like when we are feeling deeply connected in our relationships, we're going to be very powerful in our businesses. And yet, what I find is everyone is very perplexed when I say things like your business and your intimacy are connected. Your money and your intimacy are connected. I find people really very confused by this. And yet, as I draw the picture full circle, doesn't this land? So what I want to ask you now is, hi, Jenna, thanks for popping in. Turned on shows up everywhere. Yes. So good. So, what I want to ask you then is 2 questions. What is your desire when it comes to intimacy? And particularly with a partner. Is it to find a partner that really resonates with you? That resonates with you on a soul level? Is it in your marriage of 20 years to find a depth, to find those sparks again? To actually feel like you're co-creating something amazing together? Does it have to do with sex? Is it like, I just want it to actually be amazing, like people say it's supposed to be? What is that desire? Because number 1, just like I started out, is permission. If I could just infuse that permission to have the desires of your heart when it comes to intimacy. If you could get that, then I've done my job today. So what is that desire that you have? And if you want to share it in the comments, for sure, do so. But I know that's vulnerable stuff, right? Like that's like guarding it with our hearts. Guarding it with our hearts, huh? And then my second question for you is, what is the first main thing that comes up when I ask this? What's blocking it? What's blocking you from accessing that next level with intimacy? What's blocking it? Cindy, thank you for sharing. To have a strong partnership with my husband. Believe it will open areas in our relationship. So what I would even ask to that is, now start listening even closer. Listen within. What does the strong partnership feel like? What values have to be present for you to say, yeah, I know this is a strong partnership now. I feel it. I don't question it anymore. What would need to be present? And we want, as we do this work, if we want to stay in the intimacy energy, we want to focus on things like values and feelings, less about strategies, right? This is where we get a little hung up, is we think, well, I can't change my partner. So what, like, I know that I want it to look this way, and I know I'm never going to get it looking this way. So how can I have my heart's desire, Melissa? Especially especially when it's like, I'm in a marriage of 25 years, like we can't change, what, like, I get that. So we look at the essence of things. And Cindy, you know what I'm talking about. You've done some of this behind the scenes work with Gibson banding method and stuff. But what is the essence of what you want to experience? And what feelings and values and characteristics would need to be present? Jenna said, me stepping into my light and desires and celebration, even if he isn't ready to celebrate and go there himself. Wow. And that is so beautiful. As I think often people don't recognize that you can experience intimacy. It's an inside job. It starts here. And then when you have that deep foundation, right, of I'm showing up, I'm shining, the word that comes to mind as reading that, to me, what embodies that is radiance. I am in my radiance. And then my husband, it's like, there's all this space for him to be a human being now. He doesn't have to be perfect or meet my needs in a specific way or show up in a specific way. It's like, oh yeah, he's human and he has his own journey too. And there's now all this space for him to navigate life on his own. And I still feel deeply connected to him and loving with him and, know that there's a strong bond between us. And yet, he's not super enlightened maybe, or he's not super deep, or he's not like up in the middle of the night thinking about how he can impact the world or whatever, right? And yet we still have a power partnership. It starts here. So I just thank you for sharing that, Jenna. It's beautiful. So yes, then that second question is what's blocking, and how can we support you through that? As I do this work, I always say, never take my word for anything that I say. Just take the idea and plant it in and see if it resonates for you. See if it feels good to you. I feel like the way that I talk about intimacy and relationships is different than most people on the planet. There's so many leading experts out there talking about like the X, Y, and Z, or the A plus B equals C of relationships. And I can't understand why they do that. Yes, there are patterns that tend to have better results. And yes, there are communication tools that tend to have better outcomes than what we may be currently experiencing. But at the end of the day, it's the essence of who you are being. And the answers come from within you. You and your partner are two individuals, and you're unique. And therefore, when you come together and you create a relationship, that relationship has a spirit or a soul, and it is unique. And so who am I to come in and say, like, this is what you need to do, and this is what's going to give you the deepest intimacy? No, it's about an embodied state. And the more you do this work, the more you will know exactly what that next level is for you and your partner. And your partner will be drawn into that. And you will be radiant and magnetic in your partnership and in your work in the world. Okay, is this landing, guys? So thank you for coming on today. Thank you for watching. I'm Melissa Keenan. This is the work that I do. It's about an embodied state with intimacy. I help women on 3 pillars of intimacy. The first is true intimacy, which we've talked a lot about today. It's anchoring into that and practicing it over and over in a container that's supportive and nurturing, where we can explore this together. The second pillar is sensuality, which we haven't gone into too much today, but it's being at total peace to be open and wild and free and receiving when it comes to your physical intimacy, and doing whatever healing is necessary to get you to that confident and empowered state with your body, your sacred pleasure. The third pillar is embodiment of your divine feminine. It's finding those pieces where you're still in survival and you actually are craving rest and relaxation, to be in a being state rather than constantly in doing all the time. It's that yin and yang balance. And when we access that in relationships, we find a polarity that is the perfect breeding ground for true intimacy. So thank you guys for watching. If that stuff resonates with you, if you're feeling like, wow, this is interesting to me, I want to know more about this, please DM me and we'll get on a call and we'll explore what your next steps are with intimacy. I show up on those calls in total service and no attachment to any kind of, needing to come into my program. I know that everyone is exactly where they are meant to be on their path. But if you're watching this and thinking, I want deeper intimacy, and then you click away, guess what's going to happen? Tomorrow, you're probably going to forget what you watched. Probably going to forget all about it and go right back to the same old patterns. So sister, rise up, stand up for yourself. I'm giving you full permission to act on your desire for deeper intimacy. And then watch as your intimacy affects like magic every other aspect of your life, in your business, in your work in the world, with your clients, with your impact. I know, and I can feel the energy. So thank you to those of you who are watching. I can feel the energy of the leadership of those of you who are watching. So you have important missions in the world. It's so easy to justify investing in our business, in business strategy, and following the good old boys club and how they did it and how they made their millions, right? But you know in your core that it comes from the wisdom within you and that those old ways are dying. We have to listen, and I'm preaching to myself too. We have to listen within to know how to bring our magic into the world. Thanks, guys.